really excited about the presentation this evening. And in just a moment, I will introduce our speaker. It's really exciting to just to think about all of the different topic areas that we're going to get into. And as you have probably already quickly caught on to, we're not getting into any kind of major depth on anything we're going to, but the idea is that you're walking out of here with a lot of information that will allow you to go deeper. And the idea is also that we have a lot of people in our network that can help you dig deeper if something kind of resonates with you, but it's not the time and place in class to get into it. Bless you. You know, we're happy to do that outside. So just a couple quick housekeeping notes. I just want to make mention, you may recall if you used last time, the restrooms and water and such is just straight to the wall there and turn left. Please get up and make yourself comfortable as you will need to. So that is that. And a number of you already have mentor matches. If you have received your match, I encourage you, and I know some of you already have, to reach out to those folks. They're waiting to hear from you, and they are excited and available to help you. That's exactly why they're in the mix. So please make good use of those people. They are not an expert on every single topic we're doing, but rather savvy business people and savvy nonprofit leaders who are here to help jumpstart you in an area that we heard you speak up about for your business and that I hope will be useful. There are a lot more people in the network, and I know that you might want to put your head together with someone beyond that topic, and that's great. We will help make that happen as we go. But please speak up about your needs so that we can help kind of facilitate that. So this evening, I'm really pleased to welcome Ricardo is here from New York City Business Solutions. Thank you for joining us. And I just want to say, I'm going to be very brief here. You're going to hear, obviously, tonight about accessing financing. It's not that this is sort of like at university, if you had the opportunity to have the professor teach who wrote the textbook, we have that opportunity tonight. So Ricardo was really instrumental in putting together this material, which means that he knows not only what you're going to hear about, but a lot more behind what's there. And I'm particularly excited to be bringing to you somebody from New York City Business Solutions, and you'll hear a lot more about that because they offer, as some of you may already know, a whole range of different resources and opportunities, many of them, if not all or most of them, for free, which is awesome. And if you haven't already checked out their website and gone in to see how you might connect, I certainly encourage you to do so. And I know that there are people in the room who have taken advantage of this great resource, so ask them about their experience and dig in. So without further ado, I'm going to turn over the floor to you. Thank you.
How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Okay, I'm doing well today. 6 degrees, so that's all I need here. So I think before we start, I want to do a couple of quick things. By a show of hands, how many people here have heard of New York City Business Solutions as an organization? Okay, which is really, really good. So let me do this. The first thing I'm going to do is give you a quick elevator pitch as to who we are and how this is small businesses. And then what I'll do is I'll do an elevator pitch where I'm going to introduce myself. And what I hope from this is that we do elevator pitches around the room. So I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to do okay? So New York City Business Solutions, to give you some background, New York City Business Solutions is a completely free government agency, which means everything that we do is completely no fee, there's no charges, no commission, no fees, no anything. The mission behind New York City Business Solutions is to help small businesses start, expand, and grow in New York City. So if you are a New York City resident, everything that we have to offer is completely free. To give you some ideas of some of the services that we offer small businesses here in New York City, or even pre-startups developing small businesses, we offer free courses such as this. So we have classes such as accessing financing, we have business financial management, marketing 101. We even have a QuickBooks course in which you're able to sit in front of a computer and go through the basics of utilizing QuickBooks as a resource or as a tool for your small business. We also have free recruitment services. So as you're starting to grow your business, the need to hire employees will come about, right? Instead of you go now looking for employees, let us know the type of candidates that you're looking for. We'll do the initial screenings, we'll pay for job postings, we'll even give you a location where you can do your final interviews and you can hire these potential staff members completely free. My role at New York City Business Solutions is as a senior finance account manager, which is really just a fancy way of saying that I connect small businesses to financing opportunities. right? And essentially what I do is I learn about your business, I learn about some of the goals that you're looking to accomplish, I collect your financials, I review it, and from there we partner with over 40 different organizations and lenders, and my goal is to really get you that financing that you need, right? So it's no longer you walk into a bank and saying, hey, look, my relationship's here, can you help me with financing? What you do, you come to me, you tell me what you're looking for. Essentially what we do is we have these lenders compete against themselves. And this is completely free, we're not charging either end. And our entire mission is to really, again, help you get that financing that you need. So I say all that to say this. If you are operating out in New York City, your city taxes pay for this organization to exist. So if you have any questions, we have 7 different locations spread out through 5 boroughs, right? We have one in Lower Manhattan, we have one in Upper Manhattan, one in Brooklyn, one in Queens, one in Staten Island. Stop by a center, speak to an account manager, take some of the courses, take some of the services, because again, you're paying for this and they're free resources. Any questions on that?
You say it was free 99?
Free 99. Free 99. So they're completely free to take. So I encourage everybody here, go to your local New York City Business Solutions office with any questions. We even offer pro bono legal and accounting advice. So if you have legal questions, we'll put you in touch with attorneys. If you have accounting questions, we'll put you in touch with accountants. Free consultations. Okay? So one of the things that I've always loved to do with small businesses, both startup and existing small businesses, is this whole concept around elevator pitches. And if you don't know what an elevator pitch is, if you were on the first floor of a building and you had to get to the second floor in an elevator, and there's somebody next to you who could be a potential investor or a potential partner, how would you market your business and your services? What would you say about yourself, your business, and what you're looking to do, right? In essence, the elevator pitch is anywhere between 30 to 45 seconds. If it's any more than 45 seconds, it's no longer an elevator pitch, right? So what we're going to do today, and this is going to be very casual, we're going to do an elevator pitch where we're going to introduce ourselves. If you are currently operating a business, give us an idea of what your business is and what you're looking to do. If you don't operate a business today, just give me a sense of what you're looking to learn from today's class from Access and Finance. And I'll start. I'll be the guinea pig. So my name is Ricardo Devlon. I am the Senior Finance Account Manager of New York City Business Solutions. To give you some quick indication of what my background is, I worked for a commercial bank for about 6 years, helping small businesses obtain financing, opening up banking relationships, cash management. And I've been here at New York City Business Solutions for about 2 years, connecting small businesses to financing opportunity and just providing general guidance on how to start and grow your business. All right. My goal for today's class is to help you guys understand the basics of access and financing. All right, that's it. Nothing more than that. So what we're going to do is, I usually start to go around the room, but does anybody want to volunteer to give an elevator pitch? If not, we'll just go around the room. Anybody want to take a shot?
Okay, I will.
There we go.
I'll go after her.
Okay, perfect. So let's go this way. Perfect.
Okay, hi, my name is Gail Kahn, and I've been in the apparel industry for 20 years working for other people. I now have my own company, which is called Coco and Grace. It's a collection of casual wear, contemporary styled for women. It's relaxing, it has an emphasis on fashion, and the fabrics are very luxurious, they're soft, and they help her relax, drop her shoulders, and then move on to the next moment.
Awesome. Awesome. So I like your elevator pitch because, and one of the things I should have mentioned when you speak about elevator pitch, it always makes sense to talk about your experience in the industry, right? So it's one thing to run a business or operate a business, but if you can speak to what your experience is in the industry, it's that much better. So I appreciate you doing that. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, guys. Hi, my name is Chung Wan, otherwise known as Tiger One. We are running a small consulting business. It's geared for other small businesses that are in food and beverages, that are in technology, that are for authors. And basically we consult with them to strategically place themselves where they can go to certain events and also get them to be known for their work or products or services that they have.
Interesting.
And some of the works that we also share is, we share it in our blogging platforms, we share it on our YouTube channel, we share it in Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, all those things. And that's pretty much it, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome. Let's go.
We're gonna read, sort of.
Sure.
Okay, I'm Marcy Thompson. And this This is Jenny Hall, and we are Studio B. Studio B has been producing theatrical events for about 5 years, and we know two things are true. Art builds community, and community builds the arts. But our community, which is in New Jersey, is filled with artists and creative professionals, and it needs a physical space to make that happen.
Now, all of us can agree that we need a place to connect, collaborate, and cross-pollinate ideas, and a place to imagine such an idea and to make that idea a reality.
So the goal for Studio B is to create a cultural center that connects people at every stage of life to the arts, to education, and to community engagement.
Our business is a co-working space for artists and entrepreneurs, a space for events, a space for classes and programming. We want to create a space, a place where artists and audiences can connect and where new ideas can take flight.
The end.
Yeah.
That's really good. It's really good. Thank you. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, BAF members. My name is Tarek Nahisi, also known as Ty, and I'm the owner and operator of African Frames. African Frames is a mashup of art history along with a hint of heritage. So we're currently transitioning our e-commerce business to the mobile and tablet platform in order to widen the appeal of framing digital art as well as to reduce our carbon footprint. We're reducing our carbon footprint because we no longer want to source and import this beautiful wood from South Africa. So please, frame your precious moments with AfricanFrames.com.
Thank you. Let's go this way, and then we'll go.
My name is Fantasia Gacher. I run a nonprofit called Alternative Education, and what we do is we partner Native American college students with Native American high school students to talk about the issues in Indian country. What we're interested in is engaging Native American high school students with Native issues, so that ultimately to raise the Native American graduation rate. We believe that talking about issues creates change.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome. Hello.
My name is Victoria Kaverina, and I am owner and everything everybody for Indicator Lock Company. We basically manufacture and sell the new type of locks. We believe that it's enough stress in the society, so we're on the mission to reduce the stress by at least 8.5%. It's my own calculation, you can ask me later. Why it's 8.5?
Okay.
By reducing the stress in the public restrooms. So we don't need any more knocking, pushing, and pulling on the restroom doors. And people get aggravated, get stress, and get a lot of additional stress, which you don't need. So the solution is simple. We just need the indicator to show you is it in use or vacant. But all existing indicators right now, like in Starbucks, you see in the airplanes, they don't have the handle. So the business owner basically has to run by 2 locks, one for indicator, one for lever, handle, and then they have to pay to install it. So we created the simple solution. We combined both parts in one tell-it-all lock. And that's what our idea of how to make the world a better place and to reduce our stress.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Heidi. I have experience designing products and being a creative director at an apparel company, boutique apparel company, for the last 3 years. Our company, my partner, he's not here right now, is called Brave, and we tailor our products to the artist and maker community. We make everything by hand, and it's really items to celebrate the creative journey for artists and makers who are very passionate about that.
Great. Welcome. Let's go this way.
Good evening. I am Darrell Rich, and I am the founder of Joshua's House, a not-for-profit organization for youth and young adults. We provide mentoring services, education, community service, and health and wellness programs. I have just over 10 years experience in arts, architecture, and community development. And so after leaving, reluctantly, architecture, I decided to focus my efforts on actually using the arts, architecture, and community development to build the next generation. I have found in my own personal experience that the principles of art, the principles of architecture are actually principles for life. And so I want to use those principles for the next generation to actually, become productive citizens as well. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shanette Henry, and I am a wealth advisor. I, along with my business partner Dana Wilson, have a collective over 23 years assisting either corporations or individuals in the full suite of wealth management products and services. What makes us different and unique is that we have developed a wealth education program that incorporates a temperament tool to help people understand why they look at their money the way they do and why they treat their money the way they do, and to teach them the positive mindset, temperament techniques in order to really truly build wealth so that you can live the life that you've always dreamed of.
You want to introduce yourself? You ready to give it a shot?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. My name is Danelle Egerton. My company is Good Goodies. We're a vegan company. We make vegan baked goods. I'm the CEO and baker, delivery person, marketing person. I wear many hats. And I started baking when I was 5. The business actually started in 2009. And what we do is we take traditional desserts and spin them into vegan scrumptiousness. So the goal for us is to be able to reach many people, in particular people who cannot afford to eat healthy. I want them to know that it shouldn't be a luxury but a right, and they should be able to eat healthier. So what makes us unique is the taste. Our products are absolutely scrumptious, and our price point. We offer fair price products so that we can reach more people and educate them on eating healthy without compromising taste.
Awesome. Thank you. Hello.
Hey, I'm gonna read. Our bodies are more powerful than we think. They know when to eat, sleep, help us get over sicknesses, and tell us when we're doing too much. So how do we naturally nourish and support these systems that keep us healthy and vibrant? Hi, my name's Amy and I'm the founder of Tasana. Drawing from both traditional wisdom and modern science, Tasana creates high-quality and seasonally appropriate herbal teas that strengthen and nourish and restore harmony to our bodies. Inspired by my own experience with using herbs to help my skin deal with years of acne, I began my road to studying herbalism. I found that they were powerful allies in addressing things like stress, stamina, anxiety, and just helping our bodies do their jobs smoothly. Herbs are often seen as outdated or pesky weeds, but growing all around us are powerful ingredients. Many of the herbal products you see out there, however, are stale tea bags, alcohol extracts, and powdered pills. How can we offer something more real and fresh? That's why I came up with Tasana. Tasana creates healing and nourishing herbal teas, combining only organic flowers, roots, leaves, berries, mushrooms, and water. Each bottle is a concentrated daily serving, so you can mix them with water, freeze them as ice cubes, or put them in your smoothies. They're 0 calories, contain no sweeteners, and are based on traditional, time-tested plant cultivations. Right now, Tasana is taking orders for New York City on our website. We have a spring menu that focuses on revitalization, detoxing, and nourishing the spirit. I created Tasana because I wanted to share something magical, something that honors our inherent strength. I want to make healthy simple. Our blends nourish and align our bodies so that we could do what we love to do better and easier. So let's show the world how powerful we really can be. And here are some discount cards.
Pretty good. Let's go around this way.
Hi, my name is Shai Vickness. I'm here. I'm a board member of the AF actually, so I'm here sort of sitting in and watching. I work for TIAA-CREF, or Massive Pension Fund, so this topic is right up my alley. So I'm looking forward to listening and learning.
Welcome. Hello.
I'm Tina Nelson, and I'm an attorney mom who created and now distribute a board game for the entire family that teaches what it's like to be a lawyer and run a small business.
Interesting.
All right, so I'm Dana Wilson. I am the other half of Happy On Financial, so my 30-second elevator speech would sound a lot similar. So I'm just going to kind of talk about a little bit what we focus on. We focus on working with women and entrepreneurial women, women executives who are transitioning out of their corporate structure, and I'll stay So again, we focus on women entrepreneurs, women who are transitioning out of their corporate careers, going into entrepreneurial roles, and also working with athletes. So the program that Sharnette mentioned, our PEAK program, which again stands for Proactively Educating and Acquiring Knowledge, we built it originally for athletes, just because of the bankruptcy rates and the other challenges that they face during their athletic career, during and then after. So for us, it was really important to take that approach and that educational approach when it comes to managing your finances, whether it's budgeting, investment, and really understanding your money mindset. So again, that's really what our market is focused on and what we're looking for. So it's great to meet everyone.
Welcome. Thank you. Let's give everybody a round of applause. Awesome. So today what we're going to do is we're going to cover access and financing. So at the end of this, you won't become experts in understanding, cash flow and debt service. But what I want everybody here to understand as they walk outside this room is what are the different options available to small businesses when it comes to financing or funding your small businesses, and what does each specific type of funding opportunity require, or kind of digging into each separate type of financing option or funding option in general. So this is a quick introduction, so a couple of things that we're going to cover. We did a quick introduction of New York City Business Solutions and what we offer to small businesses here in New York City. We're going to cover the 5 C's, which is really the foundation of any sort of funding opportunity. This is what lenders, what potential investors would look at when it comes down to evaluating you as a potential borrower with that company or that lender. We're going to talk about debt financing, some key points to consider. We're going to briefly touch on equity financing or equity funding. And we're going to end with crowdfunding, just the basics of really understanding this whole mystification of crowdfunding. We're going to try to demystify that. We're going to end with evaluating options, so some of the services that we can help in terms of supporting your request for access and capital, some of the ways that you can get in touch with an account manager, some free resources that we have. The course calendar is updating every single month, so what I would encourage everybody to do is if there are courses that you're looking to take, feel free to check out our website. The information will be on the slide deck. They can go on, check out the website to see some of the courses that we have upcoming. One of the things that I do recommend, if there are any questions as we go through this deck, feel free, raise your hand. We can cover any question. If you have a specific question based on your business, feel free to raise your hand. I have no issues talking about those questions.
Ricardo, if you don't mind, I just want to remind everyone that you all have this presentation. You received it in your email, and it's also on the Workplace platform. There are a couple of copies over there, but you do have this already, and it is available to you. So don't worry about writing every single word that you see.
Thank you. So first things first, we're going to cover the 5 C's. So essentially the 5 C's, whenever you're looking at traditional debt lenders or even some equity investors, what they're judging you as a potential small business on is this whole idea of 5 C's. So those 5 C's are collateral, cash flow, capital injection, management capacity, and credit. And we're going to go through each one by one. So when you're looking to obtain financing, and we're going to use a fictitious example, if I'm looking to start a small business, the first thing I would do is I would approach the lender and say, hey, look, I'm looking to obtain $50,000 to start my small business. One of the first things they're going to ask me about is this whole idea of collateral. And what that truly means is, worst case scenario, if I as a lender were to lend you $50,000, what's my recourse? What happens in the event that you as a small business owner is unable to pay me for my loan? When you think of collateral, think of things like business assets. So any assets or any equipment that the business may own, and personal assets would also be considered collateral. The most prominent version of personal assets would be real estate. So if you as a small business owner owns real estate, lenders may ask you to put that up as collateral, which is worst case scenario. If this business is unable to repay this loan, I have the ability to go after both either personal or business assets to reclaim my funds. Okay, sure.
If you're an LLC, aren't you sort of protected?
Good question. You're protected to a degree. Now, one of the misconceptions that small businesses have is that if you are either a corporation or LLC, you don't have to worry about personal guarantees. With most conventional loan products, if you're looking or pursuing a loan opportunity with any lender, you're going to have to personally guarantee your loan, right? So this whole concept of saying, look, I have a corporation, so all the responsibility falls on the corporation is not necessarily true. With a lot of small business lenders, they require that you as the individual provide a personal guarantee on that loan. Okay? And personal guarantee means worst case scenario if my business does not repay the loan, me as a lender has the ability to go after you as the small business owner to repay these funds.
And by lender, do you literally mean like a bank, or is this a larger?
Banks, alternative lenders, commercial banks, alternative lenders, community development lenders, anybody that's giving you a small business loan with terms would be considered.
Sorry, Carla.
Sure.
I thought that if you incorporate your company, you wouldn't be liable when it's kind of doing everything separate.
Liability falls, it's more relevant when it comes down to, let's say something happens in which you open up a restaurant, for instance, and the client gets food poisoning. Liability is more effective when it comes down to if they take you to court, legally they have to go after business assets before they can go after personal assets. So it's just an extra barrier before anybody can go after personal assets. So in the same situation where somebody had food poisoning in your restaurant, and you go to court, the first step is to go after business assets and then personal assets after. It's the same way with loans. If there were, for any instances where you were not able to repay that loan, they go after business assets first, and in worst case scenario, go after personal assets second.
So nothing protects the owner?
Well, the business first, but after? All right, so know this, if you're going after a conventional loan, the onus is on you at the end of the day to repay that loan. All right, so I don't want to use this as a scare tactic. I just want to make sure you understand. Because from the lender's point of view, you have to understand that the lender wants to make sure that you have skin in the game, right? Why would I lend you $100,000 when you have no risk on your end? You're saying that if the business fails, you just wipe your hands and everything's fine. What the collateral allows lenders to say is, look, we don't want to go ahead and pursue your real estate or your personal assets, but we want to make sure that you're really committed to this business, and we need you to pledge this as collateral. All right. The second piece is this whole idea of cash flow, and to kind of go back to collateral to give you a good frame of reference. A lot of lenders, as you start looking for loan sizes over 100,000, a lot of lenders are really comfortable with this whole concept of 1-to-1 ratio, which means that if you're looking for a loan of, let's say, 100,000. Lenders would love if you have an asset that has equity that matches that loan amount. So for instance, if you have a piece of real estate that has $100,000 worth of equity, lenders feel a lot more comfortable working with you because they know that worst case scenario, they can reclaim their full funds. Everybody understand that? Is that 1-to-1 ratio? Cash flow is very, very important. So cash flow is if I lend you financing, if I give you funding, or if I give you a loan for $50,000 or $100,000, does your business currently demonstrate the ability to repay this loan? You'll find this whole concept of historical cash flow relevant with a lot of commercial banks, where if you approach a commercial bank, let's say a Chase or a Citibank, and say, hey, look, we're looking to obtain financing, one of the first questions that they would ask you for, one of the first requests that they would have is a request for your last 3 years worth of business tax returns. And the reason why they ask you for your business tax returns is they want to make sure that your business tax returns reflect the ability to repay your loan. And the whole idea regarding cash flow is if your annual income for the year for your business can cover your annual debt, then you would be a potentially good lender a good client for them to work with. Which means what lenders want to make sure of is for every dollar of debt that you have, you should have at least $1 of income coming in, right? So you should be able to at least cover your debt. So the question comes about, what if I am a startup business, or if I am just ramping up? I've only been in business for 6 months, so we don't have much cash flow. A lot of alternative lenders, not commercial lenders, but alternative lenders, take a lot of stock into projected income, which means when you come up with a set of projections, lenders will actually take those figures and use that to make their calculations to make sure you're able to support the debt, right? Commercial banks aren't as flexible, but lenders will actually go into your projections, and as long as your projections are concise, they can use that to make sure that you are a good candidate for financing. Okay? So all I do is cash flow is, can the company repay the loan in the event that we give refinancing? Any questions on that piece? Pretty straightforward. One of my biggest pet peeves working at a commercial bank was this whole idea of capital injection. I used to have, and I still do from time to time, I have small businesses come to me and say, look, we're looking for financing, how much can we get? How much can we get in financing? One of my biggest pet peeves is when people say that. The reason being is because if you're looking to start a business, you as a small business owner should know that lenders will finance, traditional debt lenders will finance a maximum of 80% of total project cost. Total project cost, 80% of total project cost. So what does that mean? If I am looking to open up a restaurant, for instance, and I know that in order for me to open up this restaurant here in Manhattan, it's going to cost me $100,000. Let's pick a number up. It's going to cost me $100,000 for me to open up this restaurant. Between building out, between putting in the furniture, between getting the equipment, it's going to cost me $100,000. I wouldn't be able to walk into the bank or walk into a lender and say, look, we need a loan for $100,000. These lenders will require that you come to the table with at least 20% of that total project cost. Okay? So if you know your project cost is $100,000, for instance, you need to make sure that you have at least $20,000 of your own money to contribute to this project. A second piece of that, sometimes your capital injection may not come in the form of cash. It may also come in the form of assets. If I'm looking to open up a restaurant, for instance, and I'm bringing $20,000 worth of equipment into the restaurant, that would satisfy my 20% minimum. Everybody understand that? As long as I make sure I come to the table with 20% of that total project cost, I'm covered, at least 20%. The reason why I say at least 20% is because depending on how risky your small business or that small business lender deems your business, they may ask for more in terms of capital injection. So a lender may say, look, we really like your concept, we like your business, but this is sort of new age for us. So typically we ask for 20%, but because this is slightly higher risk, we need you to come to the table with 30% or 35%. Okay? So you want to make sure to be prepared to show this capital injection, that 20 to 30% of cash.
But how do you prove what the cost, the projected cost of a capital investment is? I mean, do you bring in like, what do you have? I mean, if I have $10,000, maybe I just make that 20% of what I ask for.
Most definitely.
And just do it that way?
That's a good
How
question.
are you ever gonna really know how much money you have?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what lenders do is they make sure to cover themselves. So for instance, let's use a brick and mortar location, a restaurant, right? I find a really great location on this corner, on the corner of the block, and I want to build out a restaurant to that location. I go to the lender and say, look, I have 10%. I mean, I have $10,000 and that's 20% of my total project cost. Let us say, look, we're going to give you a conditional approval, but what we need is we need the general contractor to go in and price the work that's going to be required for this location. If that work comes in more than that 80% number, then they're going to need you to up your 20%.
But they're literally going to look for like estimates.
Most definitely, most definitely. There's no, you won't find any commercial or alternative small business lender that would be willing to finance without requesting estimates for build out specifically. Yeah.
Just curious, does small business lender include organizations like Axion?
Most definitely.
Okay, and they go through this whole process
Definitely.
too, even for loans like $2,000?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Micro lenders like Axion or BCNA don't have as much in terms of stringent requirements, but there are requirements regardless. Okay, it's a good question. So we're going to talk about differences between micro lenders and alternative lenders generally, and commercial lenders. We're going to talk about the differences between the three. So capital injection we covered. Management capacity is a huge piece. So one of the reasons why small business lenders require a business plan is because they want to make sure that you as a small business owner is capable of running your business. So whether you know this or not, when you take on debt, that lender becomes a stakeholder. They become invested in your business, right? And they want you to be successful because they want to get their money back. So I say that to say, one of the things that lenders will require is that you're able to demonstrate management capacity. So let's say I say, look, I really love the bar industry. I like going to bars. So I really love the bar industry, and I want to open up a bar. I have the collateral, I have the cash flow, I have 20% down, I'm ready to go. I walk into the bank, they ask me for my expertise in the industry, and I say, look, I don't have any expertise, I just like the concept. They will turn down my loan request, right? Because again, they want to make sure that if you're running this business, that you have the capability to do so. So I'll give you a scenario. One of the clients that I worked with, I had a client that I worked with last summer, and the client was looking to take over a cafe that his friend owned. We walked into the bank, we sat down, we worked out a business plan, we approached the lender, and the lender actually required that the small business client take 6 months and take a management training class in order to get them acquainted with running a full service business. Right? So lenders will require that you demonstrate the ability to demonstrate the ability to run your business. So you want to make sure to have that piece. And the last piece is this whole concept of credit and character. And I think credit is a little bit overstated. When small business owners specifically think about credit, they assume that the number, right? If I have a 720 credit score, a 780 credit score, it's really great. I can get financing. If I have less than 650 or 620, then it's a little bit harder. With a lot of lenders that we work with, it's less about the credit score and more about being able to show that you're currently responsible for your credit report. So you may have a slightly lower credit score, but if a lender were to look at your credit report and you can show that you're currently responsible for your credit, you have a really good shot of obtaining financing. So I want everybody here to think outside the score. It's more of just being responsible for your credit, right? We have had a lot of success working with small businesses who had less than stellar credit and have them still obtain financing. Okay, so it's no longer about the score, it's more so about just the ability to demonstrate that you are capable currently. Any questions on that? Yep.
At that point, it's your personal credit score, right? Like
Personal
your
credit
business.
score. Yeah. So there's this idea of business credit score. To be honest with you, if you are a small business owner today, I'd say a business credit score is really your personal credit. At the end of the day, when you walk into a lender and say, hey, look, we're going to check your business credit and your personal credit, a lot of stock is placed on your personal credit as an individual because, again, you are the guarantor. You're the person that these lenders look at to make sure that this loan can be repaid. Some lenders may have formulas of coming up with a credit score, and what they do is they base it on the borrower's credit along with the type of industry that you're in and experience. They come up with a score. But for you as a small business client, if you're going out for financing, consider your business credit really your personal credit score, or personal credit. All right, any questions on that? Okay. The first piece that we're going to cover is debt capital. And debt capital is probably the most popular form of obtaining financing for a small business client. On one end, you have the borrower, you have the small business owner. And on the other hand, you have the lender. A lender could be an individual or institution providing capital under conditions of repayment. And the relationship in this debt financing deck is the lender would provide debt capital. In exchange, the borrower would provide a monthly payment. That monthly payment is made up of both the principal payment and the interest payment. So to put a scenario on this, let's say I walk into a lender, I walk into a Chase and say, hey, look, we're looking to obtain financing. I get my loan approved. What would happen is the lender would give me $10,000 a month. I'm sorry, $10,000. And in exchange, every month I pay a fixed amount, right? That fixed amount would have a portion going directly to principal, which means it goes to reduce that $10,000 that I owe. And the other piece would be the interest payment, which is the cost of borrowing those funds. Okay? So when you borrow funds, there's a principal payment to reduce your debt, and there's the interest payment, which is really just the cost for you to obtain that capital. This is
there a penalty for paying off the principal if you suddenly are able to?
There's a concept called prepayment penalty. Lenders should disclose that to you up front at closing. Whereas in some instances, lenders say, look, this loan is a 5-year or 10-year loan. If you pay this loan off within the first year, 2 years, 3 years, this is the fee. Most traditional and alternative lenders that we work with don't have a prepayment penalty. I think that's more relevant when you start looking at commercial real estate purchases. You may see a penalty in that. Okay. I think this piece is probably one of the most important pieces. I think small business owners are unaware of the type of traditional financing that you could obtain. And I want to kind of quickly cover that. The first type is a traditional term loan. So when you walk into the bank and you get a term loan, the concept of the term loan is me walking into a bank and saying, hey, look, we're looking to obtain financing for our business. Lender gives you a term loan, and the good thing about a term loan is it's a fixed amount. So if I walk into the bank asking for $5,000, I'm going to obtain $5,000, no more, no less. A fixed term means that you have a set amount of payments, a set amount of years that you have to pay this loan off. The monthly payments don't fluctuate, so no matter where the economy is, every single month you have a fixed amount that you're paying. And the interest rate, this is very important for term loans, the interest rate's a fixed rate. So no matter what happens 5 years from now, interest rate stays the same. So this is pretty popular, the whole concept of term loan. Line of credits is another loan vehicle that's not as popular, but it's a really good product to have if you have it. A line of credit, I think the best way to look at a line of credit is as a big credit card without the actual card. What the line of credit is the lender saying, look, we're going to give you access to this amount of money whenever you need it. So the main difference is with a term loan, the way it would work is if I'm approved for a term loan of $10,000, the way it would work is $10,000 would be placed into my account, and every single month I pay a fixed payment until I pay it off, right? A line of credit works a little bit differently. The way a line of credit will work is you get approved for $10,000, for instance. That money is not placed into your accounts. It's a separate account in which you have the ability to draw money from, use it, and repay whenever you need it, right? So the difference with a line of credit is it allows you to draw money from this account whenever you need it, use it for whatever you're using those funds for, and repay whenever you have the ability to do so. To give you an idea of when a line of credit would be feasible for a small business as compared to a term loan. Term loans are best for really concrete purchases. So if you know that you need to go out and purchase equipment, a term loan works best. If you know that you're going to be building out a new location, a term loan works best. If you know you need $50,000 for a marketing campaign, a term loan probably works best. The reason being is because the line of credit is great because it allows you to use money whenever you need it and repay or reuse as you see fit. The downside of a line of credit is, one, there's no fixed interest rate, which means if you get approved for a line of credit today and the interest rates, let's say 4%, and 3 years down the line the Fed decides to raise interest rates, your interest rate's going to rise as well. So it's not a fixed interest rate. It's not necessarily a fixed amount. Lenders have the ability to take a look at the amount that they approved you for originally and decide to increase or decrease that amount based off where you are currently in terms of financially, right? It's not a fixed amount, it's not a fixed interest rate, and it's not necessarily a fixed term. So lenders may say, look, we're going to give you a line of credit today, but every single year we want to review your financial statements. And if your financial statements don't show that you're able to support this line of credit, we have the ability to close it out and have you just repay your term loan. So the line of credit should only be used for short-term needs. So if I am a small business that has, and I'll give you a perfect example of where a line of credit comes into play. If I am a growing business and I have the opportunity to take on, let's say, a city contract, but the one issue that I have is, in order for me to fulfill this contract, I need cash flow to hire staff, to hire staff for working capital, so on and so forth. Line of credit works great because I can take money from this line of credit, use it to hire staff, use it for my working capital, and when I get paid for my clients for my contract, I could just pay down this line of credit and reuse it again when I get a new job. So if you have short-term goals or short-term needs, a line of credit works best because you can use the funds, wait for your account. Everybody understands what an account receivable is, by the way? Okay. Account receivables are getting paid for services or goods that you provide at an earlier date. So if I provide a good service today and the city says, great, we're going to pay you in 30 days, that 30-day payment, that payment that's due in 30 days is your account receivable. So a line of credit is great because it allows you to take out cash, use it for what you need within those 30 days, and when you finally get paid, you can pay down this line of credit. Okay? Everybody understand that concept? Yep.
How much do line of credits usually start at?
Yeah, so line of credits can be as low as $2,500. It can go as maximum $1 million. Line of credits also have very stringent requirements in terms of being able to demonstrate that you have the ability to support it. So what lenders would normally ask for clients who are pursuing a line of credit, they normally ask for the business to be in operation for at least 2 years. And they really, more so than term loans, they do have very stringent credit requirements. So in most cases, they ask you to have a credit score of over 680. A lot of cases, it's a credit score over 720, right? And the reason being is because the lender's taking on a lot of risk. They're saying that we're going to give you access to capital today, and we are okay with not checking your financials for the next 6 months or the next year, and we're going to assume that you're able to support this. So because of that, they put a lot of stringent requirements on being able to obtain this line of credit concept. Okay. Any other questions?
I know that excuse me, the rate can adjust with the line of credit, but is one of them generally more favorable in terms of its interest rate?
Yeah, so the funny thing with lines of credits compared to term loans is that line of credits usually have a slightly lower interest rate. And to be honest with you, I think that's really a teaser rate. So people look at a term loan, they look at a line of credit, like, look, line of credit works out best for me. But here's the worst case scenario, right? I'm like, this is a line of credit. Line of credit has a really great interest rate. It's at 3.5%, and term loans are at 5%. I'll take a line of credit and I'm going to use that to purchase my equipment, my $50,000 equipment. I take this line of credit, I use it to purchase my equipment for $50,000. I make monthly payments every single month. And a year from now, interest rates go from 3.5 to 6.5. What I'm stuck doing is paying a higher interest rate on something I could have got at a fixed rate a year ago, right? So what I ask all small business owners to do is, one, evaluate what your needs are, and if you're looking at a line of credit and a term loan, I'd be cognizant of what my need is. If my need is more long-term, if I'm purchasing a piece of equipment, for instance, and I know I'm going to take a couple years to pay it off, settle for the term loan, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. And I'd rather you have a fixed monthly payment every single month than kind of be leaving things to chance. Okay? So just know that piece. Any other questions on that? Yep.
Does the interest rate of the line of credit move with the Fed's interest rate?
Yeah, the prime rate.
Oh, okay.
Prime rate. So line of credit is based on, do you guys know what prime is?
Yeah.
Prime is good. So prime is usually what they use to base most of their traditional loan products. I think prime is what, 3.25 right now. And I'm even hearing stories of them possibly thinking of increasing that rate soon. Right? So just be cognizant. If you have a long-term need, bite the bullet, take out a term loan. If it's more short-term, a line of credit works great. Okay? There's this whole concept. There's also this idea of factoring. And factoring is very, very tricky. So give you another scenario. I'm a small business. I'm a general contractor that does work with the city, but my credit is really, really bad, so I can't get a lot of credit. But I do need money to help cover my cash flow while I'm waiting for my account receivables to come in. What do? I don't need a term loan. I just need money right now to cover my account receivables or to cover the needs that I have right now while waiting for payments to come in. There's this idea of factoring, and the way factoring would work is, let's say for instance I have a contract with New York City, and my contract with New York City is to fix the sidewalk here in the front, right? New York City says, hey, look, we'll pay you $10,000 if you fix the sidewalk, $10,000. So I go out, I fix the sidewalk, I go to New York City, they sign the invoice and tell me that my payment's going to be due in 30 days. Tomorrow I get another job from New York City and they say, look, we need you to fix the sidewalk, but I don't have any cash. I'm still waiting for this payment to come in. What I can do is I can go to a factoring company. And what a factoring company would do is say, hey, look, we know that you need cash now, and we also know that you're going to be receiving cash from New York City eventually. So here's what's going to happen. What we're going to do is we're going to give you $8,000 today, as long as when that $10,000 come in, when that $10,000 payment comes in from New York City, you give that to us, right? So in essence, what a factoring company does is they provide funding immediately based on account receivables that you're going to be receiving in the future. And they're typically high interest rates. Most cases are high interest rates, and should only be used for worst case scenarios. So for lenders that don't know about the concept, for clients who don't know what a line of credit is, they think factoring is the only opportunity. I mean, factoring companies can charge upwards of 15–20% a lot of times for the funds.
It's a corporate payday loan.
Yeah. Very. I mean, that's a good way to say. I mean, because what it in essence what it is saying, look, we know you need money, and we also know that you have money coming in and you can't wait. So we'll give you the money today as long as you know that when that money comes in, that money is ours. And the way they price, the way factoring companies, so there is a market for factoring companies. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to say that don't ever use it, because if you have the ability to make 50% profit and just pay, let's say 15%, okay, right? But with factoring companies, the way they price their loans is based on the account receivable. So for instance, if you have an account receivable from New York City, factoring companies are more willing to give you a slightly lower interest rate because New York City pays. They may be a little bit delayed, but they will pay eventually. If you have an account receivable from John Smith down the street, you're probably going to get a really, really high interest rate, right? Because the risk that they take on is what happens if that client doesn't pay you, right? So factoring companies do have a place, but just understand what they ask for in return. So they're going to be higher interest rate. They're going to price your interest rates depending on the type of receivable that you have. In some cases, depending on the account receivable that you have, they may decide not to even work with you. If they feel that the client that you're working with is not reliable, they may say, hey, look, we don't even want to work with you because we're not sure we're going to get paid eventually. Okay? So just know that factoring companies exist. Leases is another form of debt financing. One of the easiest ways to obtain financing is for equipment. And the reason being kind of goes back to the 5 C's that we first covered. Whereas if I'm looking to purchase equipment, lenders feel a lot more comfortable giving me financing because the piece of machinery that I'm purchasing will be my collateral, right? So if I'm going out and I'm purchasing a piece of machinery, lenders will say, hey, look, this is easier for me to understand because worst case scenario, if this client is unable to repay my loan, I already have collateral there for me to reclaim my funds. So just know leasing or lease loans are equipment loans with the equipment being put up as collateral. Okay? Any questions on that? This briefly talks about what credit is. And credit is when there is a contractual financial agreement between you and another partner, it will be reported to credit bureaus. Here's a very important part. Therefore, unpaid phone bills, gas bills, rent, even library cards may show on your credit report, right? But you can only build credit with loans and credit cards. So for those who believe that if I have a debit card, I can build credit, incorrect. Those who believe that if I pay my phone bill every single month, I can build credit, incorrect. The only way that you can build credit is with loans and credit cards. There's no other way. But you can damage your credit a lot of different ways, with phone bills, gas bills, rent, library cards, liens, missed tax payments, so on and so forth. There's a whole host of ways that you can hurt your credit. Only 2 ways that you can really build your credit. I'm gonna give you guys a quick plug. This is a good chart for you to review when you have the opportunity to do so. This gives you some tips as to what you can do to either start building credit, how to maintain good credit, and how to help correct bad credit. Yep.
You talked about lease loans. I have a quick question about product-based financing. Like if I want to start, like with Axion, if I don't exactly want to do a loan with Axion to get $10,000 to just purchase my initial stock in my product, right? But then again, I could go to a product-based financing company in Long Island where, you know, if I have an invoice saying that I'm going to go ahead and have these orders, you know, it's kind of like that loan situation. How do you really determine which is the best situation besides the rate? Because if I have an invoice, sometimes, you know, working with community development companies is, I understand that they have the funds, but sometimes it's so much more arduous, you know, to go through all of those processes. So how do I really evaluate besides rates on what they're going to give me for the financing? Because I have a literal product where, you know, I have a purchase of that has given me an invoice, and that invoice is almost the same as cash.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so I think the answer to your question is that it depends on your need. Axion is not a lender that will lend based off invoices a lot of times. So they're not going to say, look, because they're not that type of lender. Axion is a micro lender that a lot of small businesses work with to start or grow their business, and their loan sizes are between $5,000 to about $25,000.
Sorry, I should say like maybe BotNet.
Or even BotNet, okay. It depends on what you're willing to sacrifice. If you are on a time constraint, then your advantage would be to go with these product-based lenders, these lenders that lend on invoices. If you're willing to wait with a BotNet, you'll get the financing at a cheaper rate. You just have to go through those channels. That's your trade-off. How fast do you need the money?
Because the thing is that at times, like, unless you could establish a relationship with them for 2 years, 3 years, like I have, but unless I actually borrow with them, like I can't even do, you know, it's, okay.
So that actually leads us to our next piece, our next slide, and I want to kind of talk about the difference between this concept of microfinancing, traditional financing, so on and so forth. So in the alternative financing world, so one of the things I want everybody here to understand is that commercial lenders are not your only option. That's the first thing I want to say. One of the great things with commercial lenders is that traditionally their interest rates are slightly lower than pretty much anything you can get. But the bad thing is that there's very stringent requirements to obtain financing. So commercial lenders probably won't review business plans, they probably won't review projections. The only thing that they're really concerned about is what is your collateral, what's your credit score, and what's your cash flow. And if you don't qualify for those 3 pieces, it's really hard for a lot of these commercial lenders to obtain financing. So, as a alternative, there's this concept of alternative financing opportunities. So when you hear this concept of alternative financing, I don't want you to be scared. When I say alternative financing, it's not lenders that will charge you 20-30% on interest rates. Alternative lenders are made up of, a lot of the alternative lenders are made up of mission-driven organizations or nonprofits who have missions of lending to small businesses who would otherwise have difficulties obtaining financing with commercial lenders. So interest rates are comparable to commercial lenders. The only difference is they actually take a slightly deeper dive and actually review business plans. They review projections. They make sure that the client is a good fit for financing before they offer the funds. So when you hear alternative lenders, there are different types of alternative lenders. On one end, you have micro-lenders. Micro-lenders are lenders that lend anywhere between $500 up to around $25,000 and sometimes even $50,000. The reason why they're classified as micro-lenders is because the loan sizes are slightly lower. Also, their application processes are a lot quicker than traditional lenders. A lot of lenders such as Axion, Botnet, or BCNA have two-page applications where you fill out these 2 pages worth of the application, you submit it, they spit out an answer, and you can obtain the financing in anywhere between a week to 2 weeks. So the good thing is alternative micro lenders offer financing relatively quickly. Underwriting is relatively quick, but on the other end, the interest rates that you'll be charged are slightly higher. So Axion usually charges an interest rate between 11 to 16%. Botnet usually charges between 8 to about 10.5, and BCNA usually charges 8.25 to about 10%. Now the reason why they charge themselves at a slightly higher interest rate is because they are a slightly riskier lender, which means they'll offer financing with credit scores as low as 525. So they're taking on more risk. And to protect themselves against that risk, they price themselves slightly higher than other lenders. Other alternative lenders, which is on the other end, slightly mirror closely to commercial banks. So they offer financing anywhere between $50,000 to upwards of $1 million, and the interest rates are really comparable to commercial banks. The only difference is they take a deeper dive and they understand your business plan, they understand your projections to make sure that you are a client that they want to work with. Any questions on that? Okay, good. So some key terminology that you should know when you are speaking to a lender about potential financing. How much are you looking for? You should know that before you approach the lender. That's something you should know, right? The interest rate is really what's your cost of obtaining the funds, what cost are you paying. You should know what a maturity or term of loan is, and maturity or term of loan is really how long you have to pay this loan. You should be aware of the application or closing costs. So application costs are usually told to you at the point of intake, at the point of filling out the application. And closing costs should be disclosed to you prior to signing any documentation for closing. That should be expressed to you up front. And lenders should also tell you what type of collateral that you're going to need. So if a lender says we're going to give you financing, if there is collateral involved, they should let you know what that collateral is up front. Some key points that you as a small business client should consider. These are some of the questions that lenders will ask themselves before giving you financing. So it's a really good exercise for you to go in, ask yourself these questions and make sure you can answer them. Can the business repay the loan? Why do you need the loan/or line of credit? Who will repay the loan in the event the business fails? And sometimes the whole concept of co-signers comes into play with that question. If you know that you're not able to repay the loan as an individual, do you have co-signers, people that are willing to guarantee this loan along with you in the event that the business fails? Are the business owners or officers committed to the business? Does the business have a profitable operating history? Can the business justify the loan amount? If you say you need $500,000, can you justify the need for $500,000? Can you demonstrate that need? Are sales growing and are expenses controlled? What is the future of the industry? Who is your competitor or competitors, and what are their strengths and weaknesses? So your business plan should be able to speak to a lot of these questions. So again, one of the best exercises that you should do for yourself prior to obtaining funding is being able to answer these questions that we list here. All right, any questions regarding these sets of questions here? Okay, awesome. Type of loan products that we mentioned, we have the conventional financing, the micro loan. I do want to mention this one piece. I have small businesses come into me and they say, "Hey, look, can I get an SBA loan? Can I come in and get an SBA loan?" I think there's a misconception about what an SBA loan is. So let me explain what an SBA loan product is. So One of the issues that were facing a lot of commercial banks and lenders in general was that they had small businesses approach these commercial banks and these lenders and saying to them that they want to obtain funding. These lenders liked small businesses, but they weren't completely comfortable with giving these small business clients funding. So what the federal government said is, look, we want to promote small business growth across the U.S., so we're going to come up with this concept called the SBA backing. And the way it works is that if I were to walk into a banking institution and say, hey, look, we're looking to obtain funding for our small business, the lender will say, look, we want to do business with you. We're going to send this to our underwriting team, right? Underwriting team reviews the deal and they say, look, we really want to do business, but there are a couple of things that we're not comfortable with. Maybe you don't have collateral, maybe your credit's not so good, but we still want to work with you. What the SBA will say is, look, if you fund this small business, what we're going to offer is we're going to offer to be a guarantee. So worst case scenario, if this business is unable to repay this loan for you, Chase, we're going to come in and cover up to, I think, 70% and sometimes even 80% of that total loan amount. So everybody wins in that scenario. The small business owner wins because they obtain the funding that they need. The lender wins because they have a new client and they were able to disperse funds. And the federal government wins because they're able to spur job growth, because these small businesses will be hiring employees, and small business growth in the U.S. in general, right? So you don't go into a bank asking for an SBA loan, you ask for a loan product, and if that lender has an SBA backing, they have the ability to go to the SBA or federal government and ask for an additional guarantee to back that loan product. Everybody understand that concept? Okay.
So, sorry, I do have a question.
Sure.
So you would go in the bank asking for an SBA loan, you would go in the bank, present yourself and asking for a loan, and they should tell you about it? They're not going
so
to
the way
mention that to you?
Yeah, so what would happen in a lot of cases is that if they are an SBA lender, like most commercial banks are, they would go through their traditional underwriting processes, right? If you qualify under the traditional underwriting process, you'd be approved for a loan. If in the event you don't fit all the boxes that they need, they may decide to send it to the SBA for additional guarantee and approve it as an SBA loan. Now that's very relevant because SBA loans come with their own fees, right? So it's not as if you get an SBA loan, it's just the same thing as a regular loan. SBA loans carry additional fees. Another piece with SBA loans is if you are approved for an SBA loan, if you own personal real estate, the federal government requires something called a blanket lien, which means with a regular loan, small business loan, a lender may decide to give you this loan without requiring any collateral or personal collateral, right? They may say, look, we believe in your business, we're going to give you a loan for $50,000, that's it. On the other end, with the SBA loan, the SBA may say, look, we want to back this loan and you can give them this $50,000, but one of the requirements that the SBA will have is if you own any personal real estate, you are required by law to pledge that personal real estate as collateral. No questions asked. And the reason being is because the SBA loan, the SBA or the federal government is saying, look, you are taking, you're putting the American people's money at risk. So in order for us to guarantee, you have to have skin in the game. So if you have personal real estate, you have to pledge it.
So your house has to go
But
on.
it sounds more like they're really helping banks, and they're not really helping the business.
Well, not necessarily, because the thing with banks, though, with commercial banks, is that there's a brick and mortar institution everywhere in the U.S. So if you walk down, Madison Avenue, you'll find 500 different banks. And one of the, not necessarily bad things, but one of the things that will come about because of that is they can choose to have very stringent requirements in terms of who they lend to. They may say, look, we're only going to lend to clients who are looking for $100 million and up, and that's it, right? What the SBA allows small business lenders to do is to work with clients looking for $50,000 because of that additional guarantee. So I've been working with small businesses for about 10 years. I have not yet seen one lender take personal real estate as recourse. Never. Because no lender wants to be that guy or that lender that takes personal real estate, right? You never want to be in the news that says, hey, look, this small business client wasn't able to repay their loan, so we're kicking everybody out. It's not going to, it's possible. I've never seen it happen. Never seen it happen. I want you guys to see it more so as skin in the game than that recourse. Lenders will go through every avenue that they can to avoid taking personal real estate. What they'll do is they take you to court and they'll take a piece of your paycheck every 2 weeks. Personal real estate is probably the last case scenario in any situation. And again, this is even through the financial crisis, even through 06, 07, 08. I've never seen it, okay? But it's really just skin in the game, what you're doing. The next piece we're going to cover is equity financing. And equity financing, again, this is very general. And when I know how many people here are familiar with Shark Tank? Yes. Yeah. So Shark Tank is a really cool concept, but I think it only tells half the story, quite honestly. Because on one end you have the borrower, on the other end you have the equity investor. And the way it would work is that you go into Shark Tank, you pitch your business, you talk about the profits, you talk about how you're going to make money, and the equity investor could choose to provide you the funding in exchange for either ownership or a rate of return. That's on the front end. On the back end is being able to show or demonstrate the figures that you pretty much just expressed these equity investors. So these equity investors are going to ask you for financial statements. They're going to ask for cash flow statements. They're going to ask you for income statements. They're going to ask you for balance sheets, because for equity investors, even more so than traditional lenders, they're really, really invested in your business doing well, right? The arrangement between the borrower and the equity investor is, again, on one side you have the borrower, and the other side you have the equity investor. Equity investor provides capital in exchange for, sometimes it's one or the other, sometimes it's both, in exchange for a percentage of the company or a specific rate of return from that borrower. Okay, in essence, that's what equity investments are, and these are different stages of equity investments. For a lot of startups, a lot of small businesses have individual investors, and that's usually friends and family members who believe in your concept, believe in your idea, and they provide you funding in exchange, sometimes in exchange for interest in the company. As your business starts to grow, you have the angel investors, who are usually private individuals who help fund emerging startups with their own funds. And the last piece is the venture capitalists. The main difference between the venture capitalists and the angel investors is that a lot of times venture capitalists provide not only the equity that you'll need in order for you to run your business, but they also provide you with professionals that you can utilize. Right? So if you're in a business, let's say you're in a restaurant business and you have a great concept and you're a growing business but you need support, a lot of times the venture capitalists will be the one that would provide you the mentors that you need to get to that next step. Right? So not only do they provide the funding, they also provide you with board members, they provide you with individuals who have expertise in the industry to help you get to that next phase. All right? Everybody understand that? Okay. So, the last type of funding that we're going to cover is crowdfunding. And I really want to make sure I try to demystify this whole concept of crowdfunding. People hear crowdfunding, they think Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and it's really sort of new age and hard to understand, but it's really simple to understand. It's a lot harder to it's really harder to obtain the capital. So understanding the concept is pretty easy, but really understanding the work that goes into having a successful campaign is a whole different story. So on one end you have a small business, on the other end you have the crowdfunder. Crowdfunding is a new and emerging way of funding ideas or projects by receiving funds from individuals through an online campaign that utilizes social networks. So the crowdfunders would give the funding. In return, the small business will provide incentives. One of the great things that we were able to do is to come up with a scenario. So to give you some context on crowdfunding to make sure that this makes sense, we're going to use Tribeca Sweets. So Tribeca Sweets is a small but very, very popular bakery. This is fictitious, by the way. A very small but very popular bakery in Tribeca here in New York City. They want to replace an old oven, right? For some reason or another, they can't get traditional financing, and they've tapped out their investors. They have no investors. They have no opportunity for traditional funding, so they're kind of stuck, and they need to obtain this capital to replace this oven. So what Tribeca Suites went ahead and did is it connected with a crowdfunding partner to help raise funds for the purchase. With the help of the crowdfunding site, Tribeca Suites created an online campaign, shot a brief video explaining the background and goals of the company to its potential online donors. The campaign lists investment goals and current donations along with the number of days remaining to donate. So in essence, the way it would look like is you'd have a profile, you'd have the business picture or video, you'd have the total amount that the client is or that small business is looking for, the number of days left, and the amount that they invested. Okay? So in exchange for the donations, the small business client provides incentives or rewards. So for $20, anytime somebody were to lend $20 to the campaign, the small business owner would send a dozen of their finest donuts, including glazed, chocolate, and the most popular velvet, the most popular flavor, red velvet, straight to their door. If they were to purchase this at the location, it would have cost them $25 for this. But because they're doing it through an online donation, it's only going to cost $20 for this reward. Anybody who were to lend or donate $50, they would receive a dozen of the finest donuts, a t-shirt with the name on it, and a gift card redeemable for 2 free coffees. It usually costs them $65 for this if they were to walk into the store, but they'll get this for $50. For $100, anybody that were to donate $100 to the campaign, they will receive a dinner for 2 at the gorgeous outdoor patio, including a candlelit dinner featuring a prefix menu at the restaurant. So, if you are a fan of this bakery, this makes sense for you. One, you have the opportunity to help the small business in your neighborhood, the small business that you love, grow by helping them with their campaign. And 2, you're actually getting discounts on things that you would already buy, right? You're getting discounts on the donuts that you already buy every single day. So for you as a potential donator, it makes sense. The question is, why would it make sense for the small business owner? Well, the reason it makes sense for small business owners is if you take a look at the costs to the owners below, you'll see how much you're actually being charged to provide these services. So anytime somebody were to donate $20, it only costs the small business owner $10 to provide these goods and services. Yep.
Forgive me, I have a ridiculous question.
Sure.
Okay, I distribute a board game.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just sort of curious. I can offer all of those in those categories, but
yep.
For argument's sake, the $20 one.
Yep.
I say you get a board game.
Yep.
I ultimately make money on that.
Most definitely.
Why wouldn't I do that for just marketing purposes versus for lending? I understand you're teaching us as to lending, but
yep.
doesn't it also work?
The answer is you can. The answer you can. The answer is you can. So what? Most definitely. So Kickstarter is not just, and the reason why Kickstarter is so new age is not only is it a way, and it's not a lending tool because you're keeping the money, right? So you're not paying back these donors; you're keeping the money.
Right. That's what
so it's not just a tool to obtain funding. It's a great tool to market yourself, and that's what separates crowdfunding from conventional funding opportunities because you have the ability to, 1, connect with your existing clients, and 2, to open up your services to a whole network of additional potential clients. You want to speak on something? Or?
I'm from both sides.
Sure.
I'm going to talk to you later, of course. But I think one thing that you should definitely throw in this, because I read it before we came in, is that on both sides, like I supported a bunch of people's Kickstarters, Indiegogos, Rocket Hubs and stuff like that. But when you have incentives and you're 1 person or 1 or 2 people on a team, and this helps with loyalty and such like that, and you don't deliver incentives, it leaves a bad taste.
Listen.
I've donated so much money to people over the last 6 months, and I still have yet to get my incentive. And people don't realize that you must follow up on these things. And not only are these platforms broadening, like if you have like the best video of some new technology and you don't deliver it on time.
And that goes back to marketing, right?
Yeah.
If you're marketing,
or
if you have a
do
Groupon,
pre-sales, you know, that's the great thing. Like the next time I do a campaign, it'll be pre-sales for a new product.
Most definitely.
You know, because I already know that the people I'm tapping are people that buy my product. So if you wanted to expand into another version of the game of, you know, of whatever it is, that would be pre-sales for people that already have the existing game that you have.
And
you
I
have to follow up.
And I don't want to make sure, I want to make sure that everybody understands this concept, because there is a fee, there is a cost in doing this. But your work on the front end is being able to understand what sort of incentives that you're going to be providing and what the actual costs are per incentive, right? Because every one of these incentives have cost. So don't just assume that you're going to give awards, because if you're just giving awards and you're not aware of what the costs are associated to those awards, it may be worse for you to have that campaign. So being able to understand the costs associated with these donations, look at this one for instance. $100 gets you a dinner for two. That's only costing the small business owner $35. That gives them $65 for him to use towards that oven that he needs. Right? So not only is he getting the money that he needs to purchase this oven, he's opening up his product to a global network of potential individuals that will say, hey, look, next time I come to New York City, I can use those two gift cards. You know what I mean? And you can gain new clients that way. At the end of the campaign, Tribeca Sweets collects this donation. This is very important, minus any fees associated with creating the campaign. These funds can now be used to pay for the Bakery's new oven. Each one of these, well, most of these platforms have fees attached for utilizing them. And the way the fees are assessed really depends on the amount of involvement that each type of platform has. So I'm going to pick out two and just give you an example. So Lucky Ant and Razoo. Lucky Ant may say, look, we're going to give you a platform. We're going to allow you to put your picture up, put your incentives up, and everything you want. I'm sorry, you'll do your own marketing. You'll take care of the picture. We're just going to provide the platform, but we're going to charge you a very low interest rate. We're only going to charge a small fee of 4%. On the other end, Razoo may say, look, we're going to charge you 20% of whatever you make, but what we're going to do is we're going to help you with the video production. We're going to help you with the marketing. We're going to help you with creating a story. We're going to be fully involved to get you to your goal. Right? So that's one fee structure that you have to be aware of. Another sort of structure that you need to be aware of is this whole concept of all or nothing. Whereas some of these campaigns will say, if you have a goal of raising $7,500, for instance, and you don't hit that $7,500 number, you keep nothing. Everything goes back to the lenders, to the donators. You don't keep anything. Other sites may say, whatever you raise, you keep, but you still have to pay that fee. And they may price themselves a little bit higher because of that feature. So, and the last piece is, each one of these campaigns speak to a different demographic. So Pledge Music speaks to artists and musicians. App Backers is more for tech industries. Rocket Hub maybe for more retail. So a lot of work has to be done on the front end to be able to understand what type of market you're trying to reach, what sort of fees you're comfortable with, and what sort of involvement you want from that platform. Yep.
But, I mean, I feel like a lot of this goes, the word that keeps not being said is customer. So, I mean, I think that one of the things that's interesting here is that not all of us have like a product-based idea. And I think that for those of us who are sort of putting ourselves in a place in that community, the weird thing about crowdfunding, as tempting as it is that you're reaching out to this world, people who will never come into contact with your business. And because you don't have a product to sell or an incentive to give them necessarily that they would care about. And it's funny because if we learn a little bit about this, if we can look over at the nonprofit side and think about the fundraising that goes on there, and what you're asking people to do is give you a donation that's tax deductible. But in a way, what we can do entrepreneurially is take this idea and the nonprofit idea and say, we're not a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
But what we could do, we could become a nonprofit, or what we could do is get donations as though we were crowdfunding and give incentives, but not offer any kind of tax deduction.
Yeah, that's a misconception sometimes that people think when they're funding, because we ran into this. If you have a Kickstarter campaign and we're an arts organization, a lot of arts organizations are nonprofit. They're like, oh, well, it's tax deductible. It's not.
And these guys aren't, you cannot be a nonprofit and run a crowdfunding campaign.
But there's already a platform that addresses that, and not only that, with these, a lot of times I don't think people realize how much work it goes into.
But I'm saying that, I guess what I'm saying is that if you're a local,
if you're a local person that
crowdfunding
provides,
outside
but
of your local,
if you provide a service, I understand what you're saying, but when you talk about the global world and such, you have to realize that there are social entrepreneurs and social people, and he's probably going to get to that in the next slide, that want to help you, whether they walk into your doors or not. When I was crowdfunding, the first person that gave me money. No, but that's what's interesting. But what I'm trying to say,
I'm not arguing with you.
I'm gonna
for that, because there'll be people that support what you do and will give you money and will be a world away from you because they just want to see you succeed. So you're talking about this global.
Is that like a unicorn?
No, it's not a unicorn.
I
raised $5,000.
Let's
I think the concept kind of hidden. I'm just thinking about looking at your local world to raise your money.
But that's what you're
supposed to do. That's who your product is for.
So here's what I want to. Here's what I want to mention. I think, and to be fair.
Just start with your local world.
To be fair, I didn't include this in the slide deck, but I remember when I first started with New York City Business Solutions, I had a representative from this lender called Kiva Zip approach me.
Sorry, what is it?
Kiva Zip. And I'm like, oh man, here's another lender that is trying to sell me something. And she was like, listen, what we're doing is we're offering small businesses who are looking to start or expand the opportunity to obtain funding at no fees and no interest. So I'm like, okay, so what's the catch? What's the catch behind this, right? What's the catch? So the way it would work is, Kiva Zip is actually a peer-to-peer platform. And the way it works is, it's very similar. It's actually called crowd lending, not crowdfunding, crowd lending. The way it works is that you create a profile. You say, look, my name is Ricardo Devlon. I'm looking to give artists an opportunity to have a location where they can come in and grow their business, right? And what we need is, we need $5,000 in order to help build out this location. Kiva Zip allows a global network of lenders to look at your campaign and say, hey, look, these people are actually doing good in their immediate neighborhoods. We can lend them as little as $5 to see them get to their goals. These lenders get no interest. They get no rewards. It's social entrepreneurship. So it's really what it is these borrowers saying, look, somebody help me get to where I'm at, and I want to give back. So if I see something that speaks to what I like or I'm passionate about, I can lend them as little as $5, and they can pay me this money back at a later date. The concept behind Kiva Zip came when one of the founders went to, I think, a village in Africa, and they were speaking to the small business owners there, and the small business owners were asking for $200 that would help them for the entire year. And in their heads, they were saying, look, if $200 can help this one individual, $200 US, if $200 US can help this individual support their families for the year, what if I create a platform in which I can have people from all around the world lend to individuals just like this, right? So they created this platform called Kiva, which allowed people from around the world lend to these individuals who need these funds to grow their business. And they recently said to themselves, look, we're really helping people, who need it in other countries. How about we take that same concept and put that in America? Where we'll say, look, if you're looking to start or grow your business, we're going to allow a global network to lend you as those $5 to get to your campaign. We actually have a workshop in which we help small businesses obtain Kiva Zip, and you'll find one client. How many people lent to your campaign?
142, and the very first person was a gentleman from Australia, and tons of people from California made multiple donations, and 2 larger organizations, Grameen and Pershing Square,
Match
were
those.
wonderful enough to match the donations. Pershing Square matched anyone that gave me up to $100. It matched the right way, and Grameen matched anyone that gave me up to $500. So I did it much quicker.
Now, wait a second, is that lending or is that?
It's
loan?
crowd
Is that-
lending. It's a combination because you still.
No, it's
Yeah,
lending.
It's lending, so it's a combination. Unlike crowdfunding where you have to rely on your own network, and some people that just may be stalking Kickstarter and all these platforms because they just like to see the new thing, you have to go through an initial period of private lending. So the people that walk in your doors, the people that support you, you have to send your link out to them and say, hey, if I'm raising up to $1,500, you need 7 people in your network, just 7, to give you as little as $5 because that is the lowest threshold. If you're raising $1,500 or more, then you need 15 people. So you have 15 days to have 15 people give you as little as $5. The minute you get to that 15 person, that 15 donation, then it kicks you into a public platform which allows all the 1 million plus people on Kiva Zip to go ahead and provide you with as little as $5. That makes the threshold smaller. Also,
How do you pay them back?
That's what I'm gonna tell you right now. So I had 45 days. I thumb hustled because you have to keep up with everyone. Every single day I thank people. Every single day I show them a new frame, another piece of art, this, that, and the other. The great thing about Kiva is that I never expected, because I did not want a loan. Why would I have $5,000? But it's best to not always use your capital. But I raised $5,000 a week early. I was sitting at General Assembly at a Facebook event. I walked out and I got 3 successive emails. First one, you have fully funded 100% on Kiva Zip. Second one, you will be receiving $5,000 in your PayPal account. Third one, $5,000 has been directly deposited into your account. These other platforms, it takes up to 10 days, at minimum 10 days. Kiva Zip, it was in the same hour. But that's what I'm saying. The 4th email let me know that over the next 2 years, I would be making deposit. I have to make a payment every single month on the 4th for $208.
But you're paying Kiva Zip directly, and Kiva Zip is spread.
And they distribute it.
1 second.
I just want to encourage it. There's actually a couple people in the room who have successfully completed Kiva Zip campaigns, and we're big fans, as I know you are, of the folks over there, and they're wonderful, and actually they'll be joining us in one of our final
so this sets you up, right?
So this is great, but I just want to say I will, in the spirit of peer learning here, I want to give the floor back to you for your presentation, but I would say for those who have successfully completed or who have experience with any of these, it would be really wonderful if others in the room want to pick their brain about what it was like.
Definitely.
And as I said, we will have someone from Kiva Zip, and if you're just itching to talk to them, I can make the connection even before that.
And they're really insightful. They can definitely help if you have any questions. So to kind of wrap up, and I think Kiva Zip was a great place to end, because Kiva Zip is sort of new age. It really revolves around this whole concept of social underwriting, where we're not checking your credit, we're not going into your bank account to see how much you make. We're just going to say, look, if your friends and family members are comfortable enough to lend you $5, then we're going to allow our global network to do the same, right? So it's really cool. So to kind of wrap up, to give you some ideas of how, again, New York City Business Solutions help, some of the ways that we help pre-startup startups in operating. These are some of the services that we have to offer: legal assistance, business plan reviews, recruitment services, courses. For those who do have questions about financing, feel free to meet with me. I'm gonna keep some cards. Any questions, general questions. This is just an idea of some of the steps that we take to get to your financing goal. I'm gonna take out some cards. Any general questions that you may have, feel free to reach out to me directly. If Lower Manhattan is not the easiest location for you to get to, again, we have 7 different centers throughout the 5 boroughs. Definitely stop by, ask questions, pick some brains. It's just a good opportunity for you to get to know what we have to offer. Yep.
Will you just say a couple words? What if you don't live in one of the 5 boroughs? Can you still attend one of the 5?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. The good thing is, it's not restricted. So if you live in Jersey, for instance, it's not something where you walk in and like, where are you from? It's not gonna be that.
Smell it on us.
It's not gonna be that. It's open to the general public for most. I think the only reason why there's a slight emphasis on New York City is that I know New York City-based lenders. There may be lenders in New Jersey that speak directly to New Jersey residents that may be able to assist that we may not know. That's the
Do
only
you have a counterpart in New Jersey?
Not that I know of. I think this is.
So you went through the mayor's office or through your government office?
Yeah, mayor's office. It's a city agency.
Okay. Well, with that, you can look at discretionary fund through City Hall.
Mm. Well, I mean, I don't know if there's. So I'd say this one thing. I don't know if there's anything like New York City Business Solutions in other. Maybe Chicago is probably implementing something similar, but nothing truly like the brick and mortar institutions that we have.
I know in Jersey we don't have anything like this.
Okay.
That's why it's discretionary funding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for me? Any questions at all? Yeah, I can probably cover. Yeah.
What did like the commercial banks start lending at? I heard it's like 50,000.
Commercial banks can
Yeah.
be as low as 5,000, 2,500. Yeah.
Is that typical?
Their average loan size is around 50,000, but they can go as low as 2,500.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Your organization have like attorneys that deal with trademarks?
Yeah. We do. So we have attorneys, and the good thing with the attorneys is disclaimer, attorneys give 30-minute consultations completely free, but if they feel that your request is a little bit too in-depth or it requires liability, they may say, look, this is not something that we can cover during 30 minutes. After the 30 minutes, if you're willing to pay for this, then we can talk about it. So they answer general questions, but if it's really in-depth, they may say they're not able to
What are the costs range from if it is more in depth?
So the agreements that we have for attorneys is that we don't ask them their fees as long as they offer the first 30 minutes up front. So we do a screening to make sure that we have capable attorneys, but we don't ask them the fees because we don't expect them to charge.
$150.
$150?
So we also, I'll just say, in the Bennett Foundation Network, we have a couple of attorneys who are similarly sort of available for quick one-off type advice. It may not be the sort of thing where they can, devote hours upon hours, but if you have a sort of quick question or you want to run something by someone, we'd certainly be happy to make that connection. And there are, especially I'm thinking of even New York Lawyers for Public Interest, there are a number of different offices and agencies in the city that exist to provide legal service and legal guidance. So we're happy to help uncover those resources.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you so much.